My good audio going. Hello, everybody. It is Dr. Catherine Guiley getting up my PowerPoints for you about goal setting. And we're going to do a free masterclass for people that are not currently working with me, but might want to know a little bit more about my approach to goal setting. And so this first slide here, I just had to share a picture that was taken last month. So I was at a mastermind, and this is an exciting time of year. And as we go into the year 2020, there's going to be a lot of exciting things unfolding. For me, it's the year that I turn 50. So yes, photography does some amazing things as far as making making those wrinkles kind of not show up so much. But I was at this mastermind. I had the privilege of seeing some of my dear friends, and a woman named Sherry Salata was there. And she's got a book that came out last year called The Beautiful No. And her book is all about, well, she worked with Oprah Winfrey for over 20 years. And Sherry is a woman of incredible talents in her own right. And she's kind of at that same period of her life where she's building a life which she calls an integrated life. So, this idea of work-life balance for her, she just says it doesn't exist. She would rather fold in work and play and learning and doing and being and all those kinds of things into one integrated life. And it's just sort of a beautiful way of looking at things. So if you're looking for a book, if you're around that time of your life, The Beautiful No by Sherry Salata. I was just thinking of her as I was looking at this photo because she was there when we had our meeting, when this sort of surprise photo shoot came up, which was really fun. So this time that we have briefly together is going to be about goal setting, but what we're going to see is that we're going to be looking back as well as forward. And of course, I think the most important moment is the present. So hopefully you are centered and you are in a place you can relax. Maybe you're listening to this as you're out moving your body. One of my very favorite things in the world to do is to listen to master classes and learn and grow while I'm out hiking or walking or just things like that. So I invite you, if you're at your computer with button chair, if you want to put this on your phone or a tablet and get out and move, that's kind of fun too. I'll try to explain what's on this slide so there's not too much that you have to be, sort of busily observing. Okay, but as we get into the content, I just want to read something that was in my last newsletter that talks about how this transition into 2020 is actually kind of a big deal. So I'm setting some context here. And this is from my friend Laura, who she's a medium, actually. She's got a business called Spirit Speaks to Me. And I do readings with her from time to time. Yes, you can make fun of me. I think it's really cool, though. And she's been really, really accurate. But she reminded me in one of her newsletters the following. We are wrapping up the last 10 years of our lives as individuals and as a globe. This is a month where we conclude, reflect, and prepare for a new energy decade. We're moving into a golden window of opportunity. Time to reset our focus and vision for 2020. Together, we are moving into the highest versions of ourselves. So this isn't just a regular, new year. This is like a big deal. And she also kind of talks about the need to conclude and reflect. So I wanted just to remind you of that need as we get into some of the steps we'll be talking about in today's masterclass. Continuing with what Laura was talking about, as this energy shift takes place, each of us will be grappling with this transition at their own level of soul development and conscious awareness. If this is semantics that you don't agree with, don't worry about it. It just means that it's not always going to be easy or fun, and I am about making everything fun, and that doesn't mean every moment. It means about the bigger perspective of things and having some sustainable energy, which I think is fun, in my opinion. You can find your own sustainable energy, but something that can get you through those difficult times is what we're looking for. Laura continues, be patient and understanding of others and yourself as we step through this window into a new way of being, seeing, and understanding. So that's kind of the context. And as we will be talking about during this masterclass, again, I'm talking about goal setting, but I'm not just always talking about doing. It's important to also feel centered and present. And again, we're going to be reflecting on the past. We're going to be looking towards the future. But the most important moment is the present moment. So let's really take a moment to be present and to anchor ourselves into the here and now. All we really have is the present moment. So I'm going to invite you to take 3 deep breaths before we get into the content. Inhaling through your nose. You can hold it at the top if you like. Exhaling through your mouth or through your nose. Inhaling through your nose. Holding it at the top if you like. And exhaling through your nose or through your mouth. One last time, inhaling. And exhaling. And I'm going to invite you to notice if there was a shift in your energy, in your ability to be present, and to absorb the content that we're going through today. And in this moment, I'm also going to invite you to maybe put aside any sort of, okay, I already know that. This is so basic. I'm not learning anything. Put those aside, right? Let's just be open to what we might experience as we go through. Might be new content, might be old content. But you are a new person in this moment. And so it's going to come into your lens of being, into your perspective in a new way. So pretty exciting. Okay, and on the breathing, I'll just quickly say that there are 2 types of breathing that I use with my clients. One is a boxed breathing where you inhale for 4, hold at the top for 4, exhale for 4, and then at the bottom of the exhale, when all the air is out, again at a count of 4. So it's just 4, 4, 4, 4. That's why it's called box breathing. And each is a count of 4, inhaling, holding at the top of the inhale, exhaling, holding at the bottom of the exhale before you inhale again. For people that really would like to initiate more of the parasympathetic nervous system, that is that branch of the autonomic nervous system that puts us more into a relaxed sort of rest and digest, as they say, relaxed state. You can use Dr. Andrew Weil's 4-7-8 breath. And that is just inhaling for 4, holding at the top for 7, and exhaling to a count of 8. And I really like to use that, at the end of a yoga class or something like that. Okay, so, wow, I'm going to move on. Because you might be wondering what these steps are as related to goal setting. So there are 6 steps that we're going to be going through. The first is to close out. It says 2017. I just kind of copied this from a workbook that I had written a couple years ago. But this is closing out this current year, 2019. I'm going to suggest that you do some clutter clearing. That's step 2. Okay, so that's kind of looking forward and getting ready for, or looking back, and then getting ready for the new. Moving into step 3, setting intentions, new intentions. And I'm going to show you how to do that and how intentions are different from goals. Then we're going to place attention on your intention. And that's really where goal setting gets in. That's in step 4. Step 5, this is about kind of what we were talking about. The present moment is all we have. We can't be worrying about the future or ruminating about the past. So in step 5, I'm going to ask you and remind you to let go of tension around those intentions. And then step 6 is building your community so that your 2020 year is full of ease and grace. That has been actually my intention in the past, is that I am full of ease and grace. Depending on the year, sometimes I might want to be full of happiness or full of love. But we'll be getting into that in step 3 when we're talking about intentions. Before we move off the slide, I want to give full credit to a dear friend of mine, Marcy Scheimoff. She is the author of the #1 New York Times bestselling book, Happy for No Reason and Love for No Reason. And I'm actually a certified Marcy Shimoff Happy for No Reason coach. And I love to spread positive psychology messages through her work and workshops and all of the training I've done under her. I will actually just mention at the end, there's a Year of Miracles. Let me just put this down in my notes. A Year of Miracles program that she does. And this is the great time of year. If you're listening to this in December of 2019, I can get you some information about a fabulous program that she does that will be starting early next year that will kind of really build off of a lot of what we're talking about today. But in terms of the credit, this idea of intention, attention, and no tension comes from Marcy. And actually, on one of my podcast interviews, you can locate it if you want. It's just a free resource under my Positive on Publishing podcast. So if you go to makeeverythingfun.com/podcasts, you would click on, I have 2 podcasts. One is Mountain Mantras. The other is Positive on Publishing. You would click on Positive on Publishing and find the interview with Marcy Shimoff. She goes into great detail. It's more specific to authors, but it's really applicable to everyone about how you can use intention, attention, and no tension in terms of being the best version of yourself and achieving all that you want in life. So I'm giving credit to her here. I will be going through more detail about intention, attention, and no tension. So don't worry, I haven't fully explained it here, but if you want to hear it directly from Marcy, she has a special way of how she communicates around this topic. And again, that can be found in that Positive on Publishing podcast. It's a lot of P's. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at step 1, which is to close out 2019. So how do you do that? This is what I suggest with my clients. And this is a lot of fun because we tend to just be like, okay, I did this and then I'm running off to the next thing. And we don't take time to celebrate. So that's why I have my superwoman image here on this slide. She's like, yeah, I'm on fire. I've got my power pose on. But we've also just done a process, this is with my superwoman client, where we've looked at the biggest achievements for the year. And so this could be done with a coach. This could be done in a journal. You could do this on a walk. Maybe you record something into your recording device like a phone. But what were some of the biggest things that you accomplished this year? Take time to reflect on those. Don't just like delete them and move on. When we get to talking about work plans, I actually don't often delete things that I've accomplished. Instead, I move them. And my assistant, this was something I had to train her to do years ago when we started working together, I was like, don't delete it. Just because it's done doesn't mean that we're going to forget about it, right? We're going to move it so that we can go back and recognize it at the end of the year or the week or the quarter or the whatever time period we are looking at. We want to look at our biggest achievements and celebrate. So, for example, if this is a journal entry or a journal exercise, you would have your achievement and then you would have your celebration. So when we get into goals, I'm going to ask that each of you consider having a breakthrough goal or breakthrough achievement for the year 2020. That's something major that's going to really move you towards your next steps in your successful life. And so you would have a big celebration for that. And then you're going to have smaller goals and then milestones along the way. But your brain, I've been studying brain and the brain science heavily for the last couple of years. Your brain is actually set up in a way where it's going to do more of what you're giving yourself pleasure for. So the brain is oriented around pain and pleasure. The pleasure is the dopamine neurotransmitter and that whole cycle that our brain goes through. And when you have a dopamine release, which you get when you celebrate something, it creates that reward cycle. It's also related to what creates addictions, but this is really more creating something around positive habits and positive things that you're doing you are more likely to achieve more success if you take the time to celebrate. So don't think that you're wasting time. Don't think that you're being frivolous. I want you to write out your biggest achievements and then write out a plan or write out a little step to celebrate them. It will actually have a neurological response in your brain and you will achieve more in the coming year. Pretty cool. I also would like for you to consider writing out some of the new skills and talents that you have collected or that you have cultivated in the past year, and chart those out. And again, it's this whole neurological cycle of releasing the good chemicals in your brain. Oxytocin is one of the most important chemicals in your brain. Dr. Anna Kabeka, I actually saw her at that same mastermind where I saw Sherry Salata. She's got a fabulous book. It's called The Hormone Fix. And she's got a whole chapter about oxytocin, which she calls the most important hormone. And it's really responsible for, that feeling good, connected feeling that we want more of. It actually is something that, mothers have a lot of when they're breastfeeding their babies and so on and so forth. So get that oxytocin release by doing some celebration of what kind of new skills and talents you've developed in the past year. Same thing for positive habits. What positive habits have you started to take a walk in the morning and get some light into your eyes, which I'm about to do. I'm going to take my dogs for a walk. What have you started to do yoga? Have you started to do strength training? Have you started to take the stairs at work? What positive habits? Celebrate those. Again, it's all this neurological pattern that we're trying to strengthen in your brain, because that's part of achieving success in 2020. Last thing on this slide is the key relationships that you've developed. Oh my goodness. I've heard people say before, it's not about your net worth, it's about your network. That's so important to achieving the greatest version of yourself. So who have you met this past year? With my clients, I create something in their work plans, which is typically a Google Sheet these days. It used to be in the old Excel files of the past, or any kind of like database that we used to have. Like we used to work in Access databases. But okay, what we're doing is we are categorizing and documenting what I call conscious connections. And so every month, have you attended conferences? Have you gone to classes? Have you gone to a mastermind? Have you reached out and gotten involved in a community online? Who are those key relationships that you've cultivated? Don't forget about those people. Have a system in place that you can celebrate these relationships, and then figure out ways that you can keep in touch with people, how you can support those people, and how they can become a more integrated part of your community. When we get to the final step in this whole process, we will talk about how community is so incredibly important to your success. Okay. Still on step one, it's important. This is a Chinese proverb, I believe. I always talk about this with my kids when they make a mistake. I say, no mistakes, only lessons. I'm not very good at the whole Chinese proverb thing, but they get it, right? Actually, I want to say it's very similar to something like Yoda said, or one of these amazing Jedi masters. It's like, let's not focus on our failures. In fact, our failures are stepping stones to success if we can reframe it. So, mistakes kind of sounds like a negative thing, but, learning lessons and so on, stepping stones to success, however you want to do it. I do believe language is really important. But this reframing exercise, go ahead if you want to and put mistakes in one column, and on the other side, to the right of it, put the lesson that you learned, or the stepping stone to success, or however you want to term it. You do want to go back and say, okay, well, that contract that I did with that agency where they told me I was going to grow my Instagram following. I'm actually thinking one of my clients, and I had gently, we had gone through the proposal, and I had, sort of said, well, are you sure you want to, sign with this agency, and is this going to move you towards your goals? And it was one of these things. She was emotionally attached to it and went forward with it. And she would go back and call that a mistake. And I would say, okay, what's the lesson that you got from that quote unquote mistake, right? So go through that. we all fall down and fall on our faces, and we get up. And if you watch a child learning to walk, that child doesn't go, oh, shucks, like, I'm never going to do that again. No, they like usually giggle and get up and try again. But they learned, from that fall, something about balance. So that is just looking at my puppy, making sure, oh, are you going to be okay? Okay, because we've got more steps to go through. Okay. So I'm going to challenge everyone here to clutter clear. And I mean physically, I mean electronically, I mean emotionally. And so we have to, okay, there's a great metaphor that I love. I'm going to use this one. So when there's a Broadway play and it's this intricate story and there's all these settings, or if you like the ballet like I do, they have these beautiful sets that they put up. They put that on for a while and then they have to take down the entire set, and it's a ton of work. And then when they put on a new play or they put on a new ballet, they have a brand new set and they have to sweep the floors of the stage and get it all ready. And they can't kind of leave stuff behind because say it's, like Swan Lake or something, and then it's moving into Midnight Summer's Dream, which aren't, whatever. They're different seasons. They're like totally different settings. And if there's like snowflakes left over and all kinds of like, ice stuff from Swan Lake, and then you're going into Midnight Summer's Dream, it's really, really confusing. It's also confusing to your brain and to your brain body system. If you have like old stuff around you physically, electronically, and emotionally that are kind of like confusing you. And we know that the brain is about 3 to 5% conscious and 95 to 97% unconscious or subconscious. And whether you're aware of it or not, you're picking up signals from your physical environment, from your emotional situation, and then kind of what's going on in your life digitally. Like if your computer's about to explode, like even if you're not aware of it, your subconscious is probably aware of it. So I always tell people physically, this is the physical one, and this comes from Marcy Shimoff and Deborah Poneman. I have this beautiful picture of the three of us together, and they're just two of my most amazing mentors and angels in life. But they say for each day, for 9 days in a row, and by the way, if you don't do it one day, you have to start over. So once you start, you're like totally motivated to continue. Because if you miss a day and it's a lot of work, well, it's not that much work, but you just don't want to have to start over again. Okay. You throw away or somehow eliminate from your home or office 27 items. Ugh. Okay, so I know that sounds like a lot, and there's some really cool like math with this in terms of astrological meanings and numerology, but what that totals up to is 243 items that will be removed by the end of that 9-day period. And if you want to be lenient, you can include like deleting, and I would just do this for a day or two because you really want this to be about the physical. So if you like clean out a drawer, like a really nasty junk drawer, you might even get 27 items right there. You can get into your closet. What I did, and I do this every year, but what I did last year is I picked like a room or a thing every day, and I went into my bedroom, I cleaned out my books. Like I got rid of 27 books so easily. I know that's terrible, but like I had so many books. And then one year I finally was like, I got to get rid of these DVDs and CDs. Like just that stuff just like multiplies in the freaking night. And if you have kids, like go through their closets, go through their toys. If your house is totally immaculate, then I suppose you could do something like count, digital files that you erase off your computer. And then you can spend some time, if you want, kind of going through limiting beliefs. That's the emotional part of things. That's a whole nother topic, but I work with clients through the modality of brain spotting, which really gets into the subconscious to the subcortical part of our brain to identify and eliminate what we call process. Limiting beliefs. There's all kinds of things you can read in and the work of, cognitive behavioral therapy and all kinds of, modern day psychology. It's not just Freudian psychology and Jungian psychology that believes in the subconscious. But these sort of postmodern theories of psychology, they talk about these automatic beliefs that can be very, very limiting. Things like, I am not enough, I am not worthy, I am not lovable. And so eliminating those, clearing those beliefs, I believe brain spotting is one of the most incredible ways to get that done emotionally. But that would be working with a brain spotting practitioner. So you can go to brainspotting.com if this is really speaking to you. You can eliminate beliefs around money, about worth, about value, all kinds of things through brain spotting. Brainspotting.com has a whole directory of practitioners. Pretty cool. Okay, let's keep going. So here we're kind of getting into the looking forward. Okay, so we've done the clutter clearing, we've done the celebration, we've done that sort of neurological reset where we've got the oxytocin and the dopamine kind of going because we're clicking our heels around our new connections and skills and talents and all the achievements that we've had. And so we're looking forward with positivity and with a fresh, clean slate, to use that metaphor of the stage. It's a clean stage. We're ready to build on it, okay? So the way to do that is to set intentions. And there's a couple of things on this slide I'm going to go through. And an intention is kind of a big, broad umbrella about what you want to be. And this actually, if you're a yoga practitioner or meditation, so hum is one of the most powerful mantras. And it actually translates to I am. And I believe it's accurately, I am that, when you say so hum. But it's really good to, at the beginning of the year, kind of think about what that so hum is all about for you. So I'm going to go just to a blog post for you. It's called The Secret Formula of Manifestations. It's at makeeverythingfun.com. /secret-formula-manifestations, or you can just go to makeeverythingfun.com/blog, and then at the bottom you can just put in like intentions or manifestations, and this will pop up. But when you're talking about the intention, what you don't want to do is you don't want to use poison words. This is something I learned from my coaching training. Is when I work with people one-on-one, and actually in groups as well, I'm very tuned into language. And if I hear a client, and by the way, I used to do this, and then a coach of mine pointed it out to me. That's called coaching presence and awareness, and pointed out that I kept saying things like, I need to. Like I really felt that I needed to, blah, blah, blah. And so my coach gently pointed out that use of language, and it really helped me to shift into more I want or I will. Okay, so with an intention, they actually say with an intention, you never use I want, but when you're using language, it's I will, or I am, and then it's a gerund. I am gracefully and easily, that's not a gerund, fulfilling, or growing, or, that would be an intention, a positive statement. So again, staying away from poison words. Gosh, maybe I should do a blog post on what the poison words are. They're things like all the shoulds and coulds and woulds and can'ts and things that make you weaker. So we want to be careful. Oh, I'm going to just give a shout out to another person I saw at that same event where that photo was taken on that first slide. So Mary Shores has a book called Conscious Communications, and she talks about, I don't think she uses poison words, but they're words that she points out in she's a thought leader in changing the conversation around debt in our economy, and just an incredible heartfelt leader. And she's got this book called Conscious Communications, and again, very, very careful of the choice of words. So cool, I'm giving you some books to check out. Conscious Communications, The Beautiful No, pretty good stuff. Okay, so also with intentions, the whole thing shouldn't be negative. Like, I don't want to be broke. It should be the positive. I want to be healthier. I want a new beginning. Actually, sorry, rewind. This is, don't use works that invoke. Okay, so I want to be healthier. That invokes that you were unhealthy. I want a new beginning. That, as I read that, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. That invokes the idea, or that reflects upon, that whatever in the past was not correct or right. And everything that has happened until now brings you to today. And so let's be thankful and grateful and appreciative of that, instead of being caught in that negative. Okay, so sorry about that little mistake there, but yeah, it's very important to know that we are not perfect. Okay, we are perfectly imperfect. There we go. We are imperfect and perfectly imperfect. Okay, so we write these intentions in a way that lights up our soul. So we start with I am. I am powerful. I am healthy. I am loved. I am balanced. I am alive. And this one really speaks to me here. I am full of play. So those are just some ideas. That's more of a broad perspective on goals. But I believe in setting that umbrella for 2020, whatever it is that speaks to you. And that was just a starting point. So really don't rush that, setting your intention. Really think through what you want, your theme. It's almost like a theme. It's the backdrop for the play or for the ballet or whatever it is going to happen. You want to set that up with great intention, no pun intended. Okay, and then with my goal setting, I always encourage people to have a breakthrough achievement. So something that's really going to move the needle for you in your life. Examples are, launching a podcast or writing a book, or my breakthrough achievement last year was finishing my dissertation and getting my PhD. Like, I knew that was going to move the needle for me in an amazing way. So really set one big breakthrough. And then from there, you can set 7 to 10, this is what I suggest, areas that can be set across things like professional goals, social goals, intellectual goals, physical goals, like health and wellness, activity, moving, and spiritual and emotional areas. So that's just a starting point. When I work with clients one-on-one, we actually brainstorm first. First, we get the intention, and then we get the breakthrough. And then we start to pick those 7 to 10 areas that are the priority. And seriously, the possibilities are infinite. I could go to each different client and find completely different areas based on where they're at. I'm looking at my goals, which I have in a frame, which I brought down here to do this masterclass. And I've got an area called Love and Connection. I've got an area called Fun Brain Projects. I've got an area of health. I've got an area of influence building and an area of community. And then those are 5 areas. So I actually had less than 7, and I will tell you, I started out with more. I revisit my goals. Well, obviously annually is huge. 6 month that's when I actually wrote these. I rewrote my goals at the 6 month period, but I check in quarterly, monthly, and then I have things that flow out weekly and daily, which is really helps me to kind of, figure out what I'm going to do in this given day, week, month, quarter, etc. Okay, moving on. We anchor ourselves in our goals and in our intentions with the emotional why. So why, just like in the beginning of this conversation, I'm like, okay, well, why spend this time learning about goal setting and intentions? Well, it's because it's this really exciting, big change in sort of the astrological environment of what we're going through as individuals and as a planet. And we want to have this 2020 that challenges us, but that allows us to be the best versions of ourselves. It can be helpful to visualize. This is from solutions-based therapy. They call it in that type of therapy, they call it the miracle question. I call it the magic wand question, which is if you waved a magic wand and achieved everything that you wanted to achieve, what would it look like? How would you feel? What would you hear? What kind of sensations are bubbling up in your body when that magic wand is waved and everything appears just the way you desire? So when you get into that emotion and give yourself the time to really sink into that, that anchors your intentions as well as your goals. Okay, my puppy, I think, needs to go out. Hang on one second. I have been accident-free for so long, and he's been with us for a month, so thank you. Okay, so we're anchoring ourselves in with the emotions into our why and into our why for our goals and our intentions. And I'm just going to give you an example. Say I want to lose 10 pounds in the new year. Well, great. Like most people actually will not achieve that goal because they don't anchor it in the why, and then they miss the steps of actually putting in what I call a work plan or a plurk plan. One of my clients actually suggested that I change work plan to plurk plan because it's a combination of play and work, which becomes plurk. But a plurk plan, gives this is when it's going to happen. There's milestones, all kinds of great stuff that keeps you accountable. But even before that, it's the anchoring of the emotion around losing the 10 pounds is where the juice happens in terms of getting you closer to your goal. So an example of an emotional anchoring for that would be, I want to be vibrant and strong. And really getting into the emotion of how it feels to be vibrant, the emotion of how it feels to be strong, to wake up in the morning and have all this energy to go and, play with my puppies and support my kids and enjoy my husband, that's, and enjoy my clients and my work. Like that's really what allows you to achieve your goals. So the emotional why, and you see here, I've kind of set up a little exercise here. So the what and the why can be kind of a journaling exercise that you would do for each of your goals. Pretty cool. Okay, moving on. An affirmation for each goal it's like another layer into that subconscious that is the 95 to 97% of our brain. So going back to that example of I want to lose 10 pounds, then you have an affirmation in the present tense. I am thankful for how strong and fit I feel. So if I wanted to lose 10 pounds, I would wake up in the morning and I would say that affirmation. And I would anchor myself in that every day. And as I went to sleep at night, and these are important bridge points in your day and actually in your consciousness as you wake up and as you fall asleep, you're anchoring myself in that thankfulness and that feeling in that present tense affirmation. So now we're going to move on to step 4 because this is the work. Okay, and I'm going to bring up something that Jim Carrey, I was actually just watching When Nature Calls, one of his movies, with my son and his friend, and it is so funny. If you want a good laugh, oh my gosh, that is such a funny movie. If you have weird sense of humor like I do. But Jim Carrey says that he's well known for his ability to manifest things because he was homeless, I believe in Canada, and wrote himself a check for $1 million or something, and said he was going to cash it in some period of time and manifested it. It was right before the Dumb and Dumber movie came out. And so he manifested that for himself. And he is known for that. But he's also known for saying that you can't set a manifestation or try to have a manifestation and then sit on the couch and eat a sandwich. I think there's some kind of quote he says, which basically is saying you can't just say, I want this and I want that, which, by the way, this idea of wanting and stuff, it's more like I will, right? And in this case, it is a want to lose the 10 pounds that you see on the be vibrant and strong, but you have to set a deadline, and then you have to say what you're going to do in order to achieve that goal. So it's not just sitting on the couch and eating a sandwich. Like Jim Carrey says, you got to go out and do something. And I'm sure in order to get that Dumb and Dumber movie, there was so much that he needed to do, but he kept that intention in mind. He understood that manifestation is, let's see, it's the law of attraction plus action. So what you put your attention on does grow, but you have to, like a gardener, get in there and help these seeds germinate and then grow and flourish weed free, and all of that takes attention and work. Okay, my puppy wants to come back in. I'll be right back. Okay. So this is the action step, right? That we are in step 4, placing attention on your intentions. This is the work. This isn't sitting on the couch and eating a sandwich. This is really what I love to do. I am a project manager at heart. I love to work with my clients to create a plan of action to achieve each goal. And so we do a deadline. We talk about what's going to happen, who's going to do it, by when, and we have columns for comments, which could be filled in. All of the work plans that I create are living documents. And it's really amazing to look at the end of a year and kind of see a work plan. Again, I try not to delete too much out of them. Instead, I try to look back and say, whoa, look at all these achievements that I've accomplished or that my clients have accomplished. So work plans are multi-tab, so you've got your annual, you've got your 6-month, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily, and they all kind of tie in to your overall vision and to your unique ability, which is a different topic, but really important to consider. You can grab a book called Unique Ability. I believe it's by Dan Sullivan, and it kind of talks about, focusing on what your unique ability is. Mine, I certainly, one of my unique abilities is project management. So I love this stuff. Looking at a timeline, looking at tasks, and looking at milestones. I used to do this for Fortune 100 companies, and hope to go back and do some of this wellness work with them. But when I say I used to, this was for strategy, for organization design, job design, compensation plan design. How do we go through a process of assessment, design, and implementation for these large corporations like AT&T and Motorola and IBM? I used to always wonder, okay, what is it that they can't figure out that they need us to come in and tell them? And the answer isn't that we had anything that we told them. We had a process. So project management, process management, again, that's one of my unique abilities, and it's setting up when you want to achieve something. It's a complex process, but if you have a process that you trust, that's worked time and time again, it can typically be applied to a diverse set of circumstances and can lead you effectively on your path to achieve your goal. So that is part of this placing attention on your intention, is to create a plan of action to achieve each goal. Otherwise, it's like, wanting to get to some destination and not having a map and not having a schedule. Like, you don't know if you're on time or if you're even going in the right direction if you don't have a plan of action or a map. So moving on to step 5, which is letting go of tension around your intention. So I will say step 4 is probably the most meaty of all of the things that we will be talking about today, because that's really kind of getting, and once you get the whole structure or skeleton in place, and then start to put the muscle and tissue and ligaments and everything comes together. That's, again, using just a different metaphor of sort of like the human body. I always think of the human body as sort of the basis is the bones, right? You got to have the bones in place. That's your structure. And then you start to layer on, the muscles and tissues and organs, and then finally the skin, which is the polish, right? So it's the same thing when you're creating a plan of action to achieve a goal. You start with some structure and then you flesh it out, no pun intended. Okay, so then once you have all that, you've got your structure in place and you kind of know what you need to be doing when, you've got your milestones so that you know that you're on track. Then we have to let go of the tension around your independence. This is a shift here, right? Because step 4, it's like, woo, maybe you guys were starting to breathe more rapidly. Oh my gosh, that's so much work. And yeah, it is a lot of work to get that in place, but man, it feels amazing when you have it in place. And then you obviously need to be revisiting it from time to time, but if the structure is there, then it's a simple check-in point and you've got this whole time period all planned out. And knowing that you have a system that you trust, you can then let go. And I'm going to bring in another book here. Let's see. It is called Get Things Done or Getting Things Done. This is by, let's see, I think it's David Allen. And he talks about, he's a productivity expert, and he talks about how when you have a plan or a structure that you trust that's going to capture everything that you need to get done, then you can just let your mind be open. You can be this open vessel where cool new thoughts and creativity and things can come into play, because that is how we are going to do what's new. That is how we are going to solve new complex problems as a society and as individuals. Not by just, running like a hamster on a wheel. The hamster on the wheel is doing nothing new. It is very focused on just one paw in front of the other. What I'm really challenging you to think about is once you have step 4 in place, that structure that you trust, it captures everything. All you know your to-do list is taken care of, then you can let your mind be open so that when you're going about your day, from, when you have that pause in between events, when you have that pause in between breaths, when you have that moment, then you can actually be present in that moment and be open and be clear. When I say clear, like clutter-free mentally, to allow new ideas and insights to come in. They always talk about new ideas coming in through like the shower or whatever. For me, it's about when I can get out in nature, not listen to podcasts, not listen to any educational information, but just be in silence and let things come through. But I have to trust, and my subconscious needs to trust that my to-do list is taken care of, because otherwise it's going to be like just constantly surfacing and bubbling, and then I won't have the empty space that I need. So this step here is really about letting go of that tension, knowing that you trust the system that you've put in place, which is why that system in step 4 is so incredibly critical. I put a book here. I just bought it. I haven't read it yet. I learned about it yesterday, called Harebrained Tortoise Mind: How Intelligence Increases When You Think Less. Ooh, isn't that interesting? I was so intrigued by this when I heard about it that I had to buy it. It's by Guy Claxton. I haven't received it yet, but when I was listening to this presentation about, which and incorporated this book, it was kind of like what I was just saying, where if we're just constantly going all the time, and if that subconscious is just cluttered with everything from limiting beliefs to worry about things that we haven't structured or put in place, or we don't have our lives organized, and there's too much clutter, then nothing new and innovative and interesting is going to come in. So I don't get my best ideas at my desk when I'm, working. I do spend my time at my desk getting really, really organized and having an amazing structure. And so that what I have these, and actually at my mastermind, here's another book. Wow, I didn't realize I was going to give you so many books. Allison Maslin, she's got a book called Scale or Fail. And she, at this mastermind, reminded me of this incredible sort of creativity exercise where she just gets her mind blank and she draws she knows she needs to get from a place below to a place higher. And she actually creates an arc. It's like a doodling exercise that she does, where she creates the arc physically on a pad of paper from below to above, from below to above, and it's an arc that she draws. How can she go from here to there, from here to there? She lets her mind be blank, and she will do this for like a half an hour at a time. And she says she gets her best ideas on scaling, and she's been very, very successful at it. And I know, I thought it was a cool idea. I'm looking forward to trying it myself in the new year. So that's step 5, letting go of tension around your intentions. And here I'm just going to read, this is actually something from my first book, Mountain Mantras. It kind of talks about that open space. And it comes from my friend Jen Weigel. And I'll just, if you're out walking, I'll just read it slowly. So journalist and my dear friend, Jen Weigel, suggests a practice of balancing proactivity with receptivity. She starts each day by doing 3 to 5 action-oriented steps. So making an outreach call, sending an article to her editor, completing an interview, etc., that will get events in motion. She then steps back and consciously allows receptivity to take over. That explains, quote, "The universe is like a cargo plane that wants to make a delivery to you when you've asked for help, but it looks for a landing strip that is free of debris. It is looking for a safe and quiet place to deliver you its goods. If your landing strip happens to have geese and people running this way and that in general chaos, the cargo plane will look for somewhere else to land that's peaceful. So this is the cargo plane that has all these goodies and insights for you. It will always prefer an open field that is quiet and serene. To receive from the universe, you either need to clean up your own landing strip or just be that quiet and calm field." Pretty cool stuff, end quote. For those of us that have learned to succeed in life by trying to force a plane to land in chaos, hello, it is time to soften the approach. Yoga instructor Barone Baptiste says in his book, Journey into Power, trying hard invites strain and struggle. Trying easy gives you the levity and freedom to fly. I always love to say that little mantra, which is don't try hard, try easy. And there's another mantra at the bottom of the slide, but I'm going to move on because I want to wrap up to step six, which is building a community. So in 2020, with this structure that you have in place, with this idea of intention, attention, and no tension, I know you're going to accomplish so much, but you will do so much more if you do it within a community. So on this slide, I've suggested 5 different ways to create a community. One is to join a mastermind. I mentioned a mastermind that I was just at, and these amazing women that were there. I know that these women have given me, that lift under my wings to soar. So a mastermind group is a great idea. You can also hire a coach. That's number 2. You can appoint accountability partner. It's number 3. Number 4 is to participate in a like-minded group online, like a Facebook group. Or 5 is to start your own group. Like you could do a meetup. You can do this virtually or in person, like through a community-based organization, spiritually minded church groups, synagogues, etc. are great places to physically gather people. Innovation centers like the Ketchum Innovation Center that I served last year, those are another great ideas. So on all 5 of those, by the way, I have done. Like I'm part of a mastermind. I have a coach for myself, even though I am a coach. I have accountability partners. I do participate in groups, and I've started my own groups. So very important. I'm sure there's more, but I'm just going to move to the very last slide. In terms of building your community, I was not taking any new clients at all last year. So 2019, I did not take on any new clients. But because one of my intentions and goals for the new year is to move on to my PCC level of coaching, which is the professional coaching level certified by the ICF, I need to get a ton more hours. And so I'm taking on new clients, and I'm offering a special rate that I've actually I haven't offered this rate since like I don't know, like before 1992, like a long, long, long time ago. And so these are some of the things I just want to say on this slide here. If you're looking for a coach, look for coaches that have been there before you and that are using their unique abilities to coach you. For example, like I wouldn't hire a coach to help me launch a podcast. I did hire a coach when I launched my podcast, but I hired a coach that had done it successfully and been there before me and knew how to do it. And so it's really important when you're looking for a coach to kind of ask the questions around, have you done that? Do you know how to do that? Have you helped others? Have you done it yourself? Because if your coach has no idea how to do something, they haven't done it themselves, or they haven't helped others, then you guys will spend a lot of time fumbling around. So I've just sort of listed on this slide some of the things that I've done in the past. So sort of been there, done that in a fun way. So, increasing revenue and profit, that's, I had a $1 million book of business plus in my late 20s. And moving forward, helped clients with that. So that's something I love to do, putting together revenue plans, income statements, things like that, really kind of getting your business to grow. And we call that sales effectiveness when we did that as part of my work at the Alexander Group. But we also did amazing marketing and sales strategy planning, which led to organization structure and job design. But something I love to do, I also love to create effective organizational strategies that could be either, a small business, like in my work at the Innovation Center, or in larger organizations like a Fortune 500 or 100 company. Looking at business processes, all the things that are going on and kind of charting out those processes. Love that kind of stuff. And then there's some kind of tactical things that are more aligned with like personal brand building, launching a podcast, writing a book. I've written 6 books, a couple of children's books, and a Spanish language one. I hope to do another Spanish language one next year, but also a couple of nonfiction books. And also courses. I didn't even put that on that slide. I've launched several courses and have a school. So that's a really fun way to grow your reach and impact in 2020. And, living life in balance. So I always look to people that, that are doing amazing things. I love working with people that are also parents so that they get my struggles, my unique struggle of, being a parent, being a working mom, and having to balance all of that. And I mentioned at the beginning, Sherry Salata and her idea that, there is no such thing as work-life balance. But for those of you that really try to get there, working with somebody that understands the parasympathetic nervous system versus the sympathetic can help with everything with, the brain-body system. That's all really, really important, working with the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and the body through everything from, nutrition interventions to physical activity and general lifestyle interventions, everything from, cranial electrical stimulation, vagus nerve stimulation, all that kind of, biohacking stuff that I've been focusing on the last year or so is something that I really love to help people with. So with that, I am going to wrap this up, and we are right on time. So I'm going to end the meeting with deep gratitude and appreciation for your time this morning. I hope you got a lot out of this. I hope the 6 steps will help you in your process for setting goals that are effective and just creating an amazing 2020 for you and for all of the people that you support. So don't be shy if anything speaks to you in terms of more information, or if you want to reach out to me and see if I can get time in my calendar to work with you as a client. MakeEverythingFun.com has a contact page which does get to me, so you can use that to reach out to me, or I believe if you're on my email list, you can always respond to a newsletter, and I do get those. So reach out. I hope to be in touch, and thank you so much for your time and attention.